So today we will all uh, be looking at the same leaf map library for data visualization and how you can create your interactive map. And yeah, so on the first lecture we saw how we can add base maps and how we can add XYZ tile layer or WMS layers that are already available through web map services, and how can we add such maps, and after we have imported uh, or have that data or map prepared for us, then how we can customize that map based on various options of maybe adding a legend. So I'll use add underscore legend, and in order to add that particular legend, and I can specify what positions do I want that legend to be in, whether it would be top left, top right, bottom left, or bottom right, based on your map. Then how I can add the color bar to visualize my data set. Color bar is nothing but your uh, uh, the legend, or you can say the color bar represents what color scheme represents what values, and it is very important when we have such a large map to see how the values have varied um, across the map. So in order to add this color bar, we would use the add underscore color map, and within the parenthesis I will give or specify what exactly do I want in my color bar. Now, if I have to visualize any vector data set, and that can be anything, that can be a GeoJSON file, that can be a shapefile or geo package, or it can be a shapefile. Uh, so I can use different options to visualize those vector data. And within it, if I want to add any markers, so for adding a single marker, I would write or use the function of add underscore marker. And here I have specified the location that I want to, and draggable in order to drag this particular marker anywhere in that particular location where I want to. So I can move this anywhere based on my work. And then if you want to add multiple markers, then you can specify their latitude and longitude within the markers, and it will show all those markers to you. Then if you want to add marker cluster, like suppose if you have multiple markers in limited area frame, or you have like for example, here you have the cities around the world, and there are many cities to show, but it would be cluttered if I provide markers to each and every city of the world. So what I did here is that I added marker cluster instead of marker, so as to cluster all the markers that are in proximity to each other, and this is how it won't look cluttered. So you can see that when I zoom out of it, it will show me this cluster, which comprises of the number of cities that it contains. Like this area would contain 52, this would contain 16, this area would contain 212, and likewise. So once I zoom in, it you will see that how it dissociates and show me more information about the cities in that area, how many cities are present in that particular area. So likewise, you can also provide a marker cluster. And then if you have to customize, if you want any specific icon for representing your markers, then you can also provide it using these markers, or you have more options when you go to the documentation of leaf map. You will see how many icons are available in this particular type. So, like I have provided this leaf or globe or gear or all such icons that I have provided here. Now, if you want to visualize polylines, then how can you do that? For that, since it is a vector data set, so I would first like to install this library of Fiona, which I told you earlier when I was telling you about the raster data set that handles the raster data. Similarly, Fiona handles the vector dataset. So in order to call its function, first we need to install it, and we use pip install Fiona in order to install this library first. And then this is the particular data and the URL for the cable lines that connects the different parts of the word. And then I would use the function of add underscore vector, and here I specify the layer name and the data or the URL for that particular data set, and how do I want my information to be displayed in. So it would be on hover. Then once I execute it, you will see that it will display all these lines, and when you click on them, it will specifically show that particular uh, and the information that is related to that particular polyline will be displayed at the bottom right portion. What is the ID for this particular line and what is the name, and likewise. If you see, when you toggle to those polylines, it will show you what is the ID, Asia, Africa, Europe, and then basically what countries do it connect and what is the feature ID. And likewise, all the information will be displayed here. Possession of what? Yes, you can customize your um, or specify whatever you want to in within the parenthesis here, and it will show that particular option. Like if you move your cursor over here, it will show you what all can you include within the parenthesis, like file name, layer name, or bounding box, or mask mask out any particular area, and uh, style callback and hover style. And you can see that you have different options over here. So in the hover style, you can mention that in the form of a dictionary. So it also tells you in what form you can specify this information, and so you have to mention it in the form of a dictionary so that it executes that particular command. Now, like for example, here I have customized the polyline style, and this is using the callback function. And here you will see that first I have imported the GeoPandas in order to prepare a geodata frame. So I have here the data frame, and if I want to see the data set or which attributes are present in my particular data set, then you can see that as well. And now if I want to use the callback function, so I have specified what do I want. I want the different colors to be displayed over here, and it should be in the form of like every line should have different color scheme so that I can also distinguish in the map how uh, what all cable lines are present in this particular area so that it looks good and it is easier to distinguish between these particular cable lines. So you can use this callback function in order to use or specify the different styles in which you want to display your polylines in. Then, if you want to visualize your polygons, then you will use add vector because here I have my mm, buildings that I want to be displayed. Like, for example, this particular URL specifies that I want to showcase the New York buildings which are present in the form of a GeoJSON file, which is my vector data set here. So I'll call this particular function of add underscore vector, and then I'll specify the URL, the layer name, and the zoom to layer option in order to zoom to that particular area that I want to. Now, when I run this, you will see that it will display. So if I want to see that particular or focus on that particular area of New York City, and then I want to customize my map and specify or center my map to that particular location. So here I can provide the center of that particular location, and that will be in the form of a list. So I'll write center, and then in the list, in the form of a list, I can specify what is the latitude and longitude of NYC in order to focus or centralize my map to that particular location, because now you can see that it shows you the entire globe. But if you want to center your map to that particular location, then you would want to have this particular or the coordinate location for this particular location, and it will show this particular area to you. So this particular map shows uh, your NYC buildings that are displayed on your map. So this is how you can add any vector dataset having a, a URL, a file having vector dataset or any feature information about the feature is stored in a particular file format. That may be a shape file, or that may be a GeoJSON file, or that may be a geo package containing that particular information. Now, if you want to visualize the geodata or the geodata frame, so for that, what you need to do is, as we saw when we were studying about the geopandas, then we want to first create it in a form of a table. So that will be my geodata frame, which will tell me about the name and various information about that particular feature. Let it be height over here. That tells me about the height of the buildings in the Las Vegas area, because this is the Las Vegas building file that contains the information about the height of each building and geometry of that building. So nowadays, uh, many companies are working on looking at building the smart city. So also they are working on city planning using some advanced geospatial skills that requires you to map all these buildings or use some geo AI tools that you will be learning further on how you can extract those buildings using machine learning or different algorithms, how you can derive those buildings. And then, if you want to extract the information about the height of those buildings, how you can do it. So, if you want to read any file, then you would probably use this geodata frame in order to see this particular information, how your height in that particular uh, buildings in that particular area has varied. So this is an important tool about that. And if you want to see more information, let's see if it contains more information. So it will show you the height of 10 buildings. So similarly, you can change this information within the head and it will give you the height of all those buildings in the nearby area. So by default, if you just have this parenthesis without any value, it will just show you the first five information about the building heights or geometry related to that particular building. Now, Now, if you want to display this particular information in the form of a map, then you would use this geodata frame, which I have here. I have my geodata frame prepared. And now, if I want to see it or visualize it over my map, I would just use dot explore and parenthesis, and it will automatically show those buildings over the map that are present in the Las Vegas area. And when you like move your cursor over to those buildings, you will see that it will show you the height of each and every building and the IDs associated with it. So um, this is another feature that you see in an interactive map that you don't see in a static map, that doesn't give you that information of each and every buildings or associated information about those features that are present. So it will, just by moving your cursor, you will come to know about the information that is associated in that particular feature. So this is how you can use the explore function in order to see what all um, information or what all features are present in that particular GeoJSON file or any vector dataset that you have. Since there are in order to showcase some of these functions, uh, it is necessary, and I don't say that it is necessary for all the Python environment, but specifically for Google Colab, that has already built in several built-in libraries already available within the Colab environment, but there are certain libraries that needs to be installed. So that is the reason I have installed this map classify in order to show this information. Otherwise, it was giving me an error. So uh, I installed this particular library just in the uh, Colab environment, and it might not be necessary in other environments such as IDLE or uh, Jupyter Notebook or or Visual Code, whatever, if you are using some other environment, it may or may not necessarily use this particular library to be installed. So, if you want to see this particular information on a base map, which is, say, hybrid, then I can also do that by first initializing my map by leafmap.map and then adding a base map, which here is hybrid. And then I have specified the style in which I want my geodata frame or the information in my geodata frame to be displayed in. And um, once I zoom to that particular location, you can see that we used a similar data set, but for the entire Las Vegas area in order to extract that information when we were looking into the Rasterio Python library. So for this purpose, we have only selected a particular area within the Las Vegas area in order to show the information about buildings. So you can see over here that it has selected the buildings in this particular locality and how I have customized the information to be displayed, that I want the color of the buildings to be red, and I am not sure. It should be fill color is red, but the opacity is zero point 0.1. That may be the reason of why is it not showing us the fill in colors, and the weight of these outlines should be 2 and likewise. So you can customize your map based on your requirement, what you want to focus on. And then we can also visualize our map. Like, for example, you would have used the symbology option in order to categorize or classify your maps, whether in QGIS or ArcGIS. So you would have used or come across the symbology option when you try to visualize your map. That may be anything like a density map, or you would have tried to show any average elevation in a particular area or anything like that. So you would have come across the choropleth maps. So do you know what these choropleth maps are, or thematic maps, if you have heard of? What are these choropleth maps or thematic maps? So yes, in these choropleth maps, we can see different the values, and it is used to classify your maps in a certain color scheme. And for choropleth specifically, we use similar kind of color scheme, like shades of blue, shades of green, shades of red, or anything like that. If you have similar color tones in order to visualize a map, then we call it a choropleth map. Sometimes it is good, but I would say that chloropleth maps, when we use them for showing large differences, then they might not be that useful because they might not uh, give us or show us the difference in those particular or variations in that particular parameter that we are looking at very well, that other color schemes represent with different color tones, that kind of enhances and shows us that huge variation, or if you do not have that much variation in your color or the values of that particular parameter, then it is beneficial to use a different color scheme in order to differentiate between the disparity in that particular parameter, if that makes sense. So, so here we have tried uh, to prepare a chloroplet map and how you can display it in order to visualize that particular data set. So what you will do is you have specified that you want to display these countries information that is present in that in this GeoJSON file, and I would use add underscore data, and here I will provide the URL for that particular data, and then what does these column the column represents the population estimate in these particular countries, and scheme that I want is quantile, and the color map that I've used is a blues, which will have the different shades of blue present. So if I execute it, you will see that how it displays the particular information about the population estimate in different countries. And when you move your cursor to that particular country, it will also show you the information that is related to that particular country on the right bottom side, which shows you the name, population estimate, then population rank, and all this information that is related to that particular country. So it is quite good when you are presenting your work anywhere and somebody quickly wants to know what is the information that is related to this particular country. So it is quite good to see how the information or the values have varied over through your spatial map. So, like here in this particular thing, you can see that China and India, they are shown with a same color. So, if somebody wants to know that what is the exact or value that of population estimate that is associated with both these countries, then it would be difficult because you can see that many of these countries show similar patterns. So it is good to use normalization in this sense in order to see the actual variation, not just the exact population in these countries, but how it has varied in these particular countries by using some other estimate, maybe uh, percentage change in the population, or some parameter like that that tells you the uh, basically more authentic information about the population or any other parameter in that particular area that you are estimating. So this was about the chloroplet map that you can add, that you did using the symbology option, and there also you needed to import the data set uh, that were mainly present either in the form of a CSV file that you imported, and then you prepared a map by assigning the X and Y values to it, and then you displayed this particular information about chloroplet maps using the symbology option. So it was a step by step process, but it required some manual work in order to showcase that particular information on your map in QGIS or ArcGIS. But here in Python, you just need to provide the URL for that particular data set, and you do not even want to manually manage your CSV file and do all such manual labor that we required in other GIS environment. And you can process a large set of data set, and you can also know the mean, maximum, and maybe other statistical estimates out of this particular file that contains all the information about the population or about that particular country in general. Now, you can also use any other scheme, like I used quantile here. Now you can also use equal interval here that were also available in other GIS environment. If you remember, if you want to classify them as equal interval, or if you want to have the scheme as a quantile, and there were several different options that were available in those GIS environment as well. So likewise, you can just change the type or the scheme that you want to your data to be displayed in at. It will display that particular information in that format. So if you know, can you tell me what is the difference between these two schemes of quantiles and equal interval, what it does? What information will be provided in quantile and what will be in equal intervals? Just find this out and tell me in the next lecture tomorrow what do we mean by these when we specify these two different schemes of representing or visualizing our spatial information. Now, if we have, like, suppose if I have another data set such as wetland, and I have this geo parkway data set, which is another format of polygon data that is not very frequently available because I haven't come across many of such data formats. But if you have any data set that is present in this particular format, then how you can process or visualize that data set. So first you will download it, because here in Google Colab at least we cannot visualize anything because everything uh, is done on the cloud. So we need to first download this information onto our collab environment. So here you can see this particular data set from here. You will go to files and it will show you all the data set that are downloaded over here. So it shows me the wetland in DC area, which is maybe. So now I have also downloaded this particular data set here. I don't have uh, a particular software to read this particular format, and I'm not sure where can I read this particular data set. So maybe it is in the form uh, of figure, or maybe some information like that in the form of a polygon. So it will represent that particular area where we have wetlands. So it will be in the form of polygons only. But I'm not sure if I can read them in GIS or QGIS because I haven't come across many of such files. Then, have any one of you come across this kind of file format earlier? Or is anybody working on a similar file format? So if not, I am going to tell you just how you can process this particular vector dataset if you come across any of such file format. So you will first download this particular file and then you will uh, create a geodata frame and using this particular information so that you know what all kind of data set is available or what all information or attributes are present. So it contains the information about wetland type, then how much acres of area does it cover, and then what is the shape and area of this particular wetland type. And once you have this geodata frame, then you can check the coordinate reference system of it by gdf.crs, which we had already seen when we were studying about geopandas. So it tells me it is NAD 83 and it is in Albers projection or coordinate reference system because it is it is in a state plane which is for Washington DC area because we have a projection system which includes all these states of US and Washington DC included in it. So it will cover that area as well. So we have used a specified projection system, which is NAD 83, that is particularly for which has the datum of 1983, and it tells you all the information about that coordinate reference system. And then, as I told earlier, with uh, once you have the geodata frame, then you can use this explore function in order to see it or visualize it onto your map. Like we saw the Vegas buildings displayed on the map. So you here you can see how these wetlands are displayed on your map of Washington area. Then, so this is how, if you are working with this particular file format, then you can use or use the similar steps that we followed when we used any GeoJSON file to first read that particular file and then um, create a geodata frame. And once we have that, we can explore it. Now, this was about visualizing the vector data set. Now, if we want to visualize any raster data set, then we can do that as well in the leaf map. And the raster data set can be in different formats like GeoTIFF or cloud optimized GeoTIFF or this spatiotemporal asset catalog, which is STAC, and others, and you can visualize all this information. But before that, you would tell me what is the difference between GeoTIFF and cloud optimized GeoTIFF. Anyone? You would have studied about them in your track one. What is GeoTIFF? You all must have come across GeoTIFF at least. So yes, it is a raster file format, but why do we use GeoTIFF instead of a normal TIFF imagery? So read about it and tell me tomorrow, why do we use GeoTIFF and what is GeoTIFF? Yes, you are somewhere correct, but read about these file formats and how do we use it, when do we use it. So if you have any such raster data set, then for adding any cloud optimized geotiff file, if you have any file like that, then you can just use add underscore cog, which is for cloud optimized geotiff underscore layer, and within the parenthesis you will provide the URL and name of that particular file. So here I have used this name of fire pre-event that I'll be telling you in a short while why I have provided it a name of fire event, when I will tell you about the split map that you can also create, where in a single screen you will see two different imageries showing you two different information at different points in time. Like if you had fire or earthquake or landslide, any such hazard or um, a calamity that has occurred in some particular area, and you want to visualize these two events on a single screen, then you would use a split um uh, split function in order to see those split screen wherein you would see the pre-event and post-event, that how your that area looked before that particular event of landslide or fire or earthquake, and how did it look after um, the this event. So we are going to see it further. So here I just want to see this California region before the fire. So this is not a very good imagery that shows us quite a lot of information, but yeah, this is before uh, a fire event and that took place in California fire in 2020. Now, if you want to know the information about that particular file or the geotiff file that you have, then you can use the cog underscore info information, and it will give you bound, CRS, metadata, description, DT type, and everything related to that particular raster data set. So you can use cog underscore info method. Then, in order to know the bands information instead of info that you used here, you will use bands, and then when you call it, it will tell you it has three bands, uh, either just the visible bands, and then if you want to know the stats, then you can uncomment this particular stats, and it will give you maximum the statistics basically related to this particular raster data set. Now, if you want to have multiple or let's say if you want to display the post fire event imagery of I'm not sure which time is it for, but it is definitely after the fire event in 2020. So it is the post fire event imagery and that I want to see how does that look, but it does not show me that particular. Okay, so yeah, this is the post fire event. This is how the area looks, but it looks a more. Uh, why does it look so weird? So it will also tell you the time of this particular. So it is February. So that might be the reason why it looks weird. This imagery, or it is a nighttime imagery, I'm not sure. But like if you have any such two different time periods imagery, and if you want to visualize that information, then you can use a split map. So the idea is to show you how you can use a single screen in order to show two different events or two different imageries in order to compare them, that how these two images have varied over a period of time. So you will use split underscore map, and here you will specify in the left layer you want uh, the pre-event one, and here in the right layer you would want the post-event, and then you also want the label of these right and left panels. And when you use this split underscore map function, you will see that you will get this entire screen which has two different imageries. One is in the left panel and the other is in the right panel. And it also shows you the label pre-event and post-event. Now, if you want to scroll them, you can also do it here. And if you remember, you had similar functions in a GIS environment like QGIS or ArcGIS, where you can scroll down and see how that particular, if you are seeing any different imageries or different time periods, in order to compare those two images, how you used this particular feature in order to compare. So here in leaf map also you can use this split map function in order to see the pre and post event, or if you want to compare two different imageries, you just have to provide the URL, or if you have the information or image stored within your computer, then you just need to provide the path of that particular file, and it will show that split map to you. Like, for example, here we have a different split map of maybe buildings displayed. Yeah, yesterday also I checked, but I think this imagery is no longer available at the site, but you can use a similar format to show different and compare two different imageries, um, that you can compare. I can show that to you as well. Uh, like I had one. I have to search for it, but yeah, this is how you can display any two time frame imageries in order to visualize them in a single screen. Now you can also create or use a custom color map where you can use, like for example, here I have used a land cover map of 2021 of 30-meter resolution, and here I have provided these color codes which corresponds to these values of this in order to show them on the land cover map of US. So you can see it and you would be able to understand when I will zoom it out. And what I have tried to do here is, so here what I've done is I have provided my own color color scheme to that particular land area type that I want to mm, be displayed in that particular land cover map. So I have given these particular color schemes that corresponds to these particular colors, and you can see them in Matplotlib or color map, uh, what color represents. Hmm, color. I'm trying to find out if I can find these. So these are all the colors that are available, but I am trying to see if I can find those color codes. Um, color, plant, 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 color codes, colors corresponding to colors. So I'll share that documentation after this if I found what these colors would represent certain colors, and I can customize my map based on these color schemes in the color map, and it will only assign those particular colors to that particular land cover type or any other map that you are visualizing if you want to customize and that um, particular color for that particular map. So you can do that using or specifying the color map, uh, and within the curly brackets, you will determine in the form of a dictionary. Here, you will specify what all colors do you want to get displayed in your map. Now you can also, if you have any file that supports GeoTIFF file and many of such raster data set you must be dealing with are in the form of GeoTIFF file or DEM. So if you have any such data set, then how can you visualize them? Then first what you'll do is you have the URL, and from here I would first want to download this particular file. So here it shows that DM90 is downloaded, so I can check it here. So this is my DEM file. Now I can just use this function of add underscore raster, and here I provide the same attributes that I used earlier, and by that it is going to add. So why is it not, is it showing me this error and not giving me the output? Can anybody tell me why is it giving me an error and not showing me an output when I am asking it to? So yeah, I have to call on Rasterio, but instead of installing that particular library, I'll first install pip install Rasterio, import Rasterio. So this collab, as I told you earlier, when we were downloading the library of Map Classify, similarly, it sometimes require us to install this local tile server, which is required in Collab. So it is asking me to install local tile server in order to display this particular raster dataset. So once I've done that, it should now show me or give me this particular output wherein I can see the DM displayed over onto my map. So you can see that it now shows me this particular raster which is displayed over the map. So this is how, if you want to visualize any or add any raster dataset onto your map, you can use add underscore raster, and in the bracket you can specify what all do you want to be displayed? Do you want to display a color bar and layer name? Then you can add it, and then you can get it displayed over onto your map. Then if you want to check the minimum and maximum values, then you can do it using dot image min max. And here it is asking me again to import ReoX array in order to, if you remember, if I want to see the information that is within the rasterio, then I used a Rio, which is a combination of raster and X-array, which will tell me about the multidimensional data set and what all attributes do I have. So it is telling me to import this particular library in order to access this information. So yeah, you have all these features that you can use in order to display and see the various information that is associated with that particular raster data set. So this is what we largely had in this particular library of leaf maps. So tomorrow what we will do is we will revise everything what we have learned till now. And then what I'm going to do is I won't be available on Wednesday, Friday, Thursday and Friday. So by that time, you are going to revise and see all these libraries. And then what on Monday, I am going to start with another, or the last library that we have is Gmap. And then you can find any small project, and maybe I'll talk to Nagendra if we can have any smaller project where we can or you can work on and see how you can implement all of those concepts and libraries that you have learned in this particular track, so that you can implement all those concepts on that particular project. So yeah, this is what we had for today, and tomorrow we will be revising at seeing about all those libraries that we have learned till now in short, in order to revise everything. Thank you for attending the session today, and we will meet tomorrow again.